Hello, gonna try and do this again. Now, sorry, I have done this already once. I see that paint I have not sorted out here. Let me just get that up. Yes, it's paint I use. I could definitely use something better, but I like it. I like the DIY aesthetic, but also tell me something better I could use. Yeah, we're doing Hen Ogledd, and I've already gone through my relationship to Hen Ogledd on a separate stream that failed. So we are gonna we're just gonna jump in at the beginning. I'm gonna basically explain what's going on, and then we're gonna have a grand old time with this interesting British band featuring Richard Dawson of Richard Dawson fame. So really fun beginning. God, I have to say all these things again and make them just as exciting, or maybe I'll make them more exciting. Okay, DIY aesthetic feeling, having the at the beginning there. We have this bow low G synth just going buzz buzz, very buzzy sound but very low, or well, in a kind of bass range. And then we have this hi-hat, but the hi-hat and the bow are not quite in time with each other, giving us this false, like this fake 1, 2, 3, 4 before the song starts, which I think is a really fun idea. And then we're getting this cool drum beat, lots of really nice sounding drums, very acoustic, sort of richly recorded, nice stereo space that they inhabit. We've got open hi-hat keeping our pulse. We've got a lot of fun stuff on the kick drum, and we've got snare mostly being a backbeat thing, so that kind of thing. But then on that third time, something like that, slightly different. Let's hear it one more time, but we can't keep going back this time. Yeah, so so in that third time there's something more fun happening. Let's see if that repeats itself now. With a little bit of ride cymbal. Yeah. With a break for the entrance of that really interesting fluty, brassy sounding synth moving down in, well, parallel triads, just 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3 5, moving down, and then the bass comes in on that low D as well. So yeah, interestingly locked together these things. That particular synth sound is also a DIY sounding thing, really, isn't it? It sounds very much like it's a really old synth that would be cheap and easy to program to make those two different sounds at the same time. And you know, more power to it. I think it's a really fun sound that you don't hear enough nowadays. And it also, these triads sort of bring us a quasi medieval thing. I think it's more of a modern interpretation of medieval music, having these triads moving in what is essentially a pentatonic scale. That's a D minor pentatonic, is all the lowest notes there. So they're all kind of following that, though, in their organum way. They're moving in exactly parallel motion. Well, it's not exactly parallel because we keep changing whether it's minor or major. If we start with this major chord, we'd expect this one to be major if we were moving in perfect parallel motion. And that might be slightly more like what you would expect of real medieval music, but even then, it's not quite the right way of doing things. That said, maybe this isn't specifically aiming for a medieval feel. Maybe it's aiming for something that is just adjacent to that, an old worldly feel kind of thing. Anyway. So 3 beats on that D minor, with bass doing the same thing, and then they both get together, go on the fourth one, E minor, C, and then D again. Oh, stop holding down those notes. There we go. Yeah, again, moving in perfect parallel motion with each of these triads. And so, yeah, it gives a very strong chord moving feel, even when two of those chords have the same, mostly the same notes. That E minor chord there has an E and a G in it, as does the C, just has a C instead of a B. But because we have this big movement between the chords where everything moves together, it feels a stronger movement. And the other thing that sort of acts against that is how fast this movement is. From here, we're really jumping through each of the chords. That is something you would get in like hymns and other things that might be sung in choral music. You might get fast movement between chords like that as each voice moves separately and they move together in these blocks. But yeah, anyway. The other thing that's come in here is the vocal, and the vocal is giving this spoken word performance. And on the other stream, I argued with myself about when spoken word is rap and when rap is spoken word, or are they always the same, or are they never the same? And I, in the end, come to the conclusion that rap is more cultural, and anything that might be musically associated with rap music instead of spoken word music is only that because of its strong cultural basis. And you could take anything from that rap music and put it into just a spoken word jazz piece or whatever it might be, and it might retain some of the feel from the previous music, but it is still, it's not going to bridge the gap and make it, you know, jazz rap just because we've got those rhythms in there. Yeah, that's more of a cultural thing, I would say, at least. Feel free to argue with me, let me know if I'm wrong there. That's more of a take rather than a objective truth. But yeah, this I guess you would call spoken word. The rhythm is relatively simple. There's no hyper fast flows or anything to write home about rhythmically here, but that serves the words in a different way. It makes it less about the artisanal creation of the thing and more about how the words are conveyed to you.
Children rise up, raised in a bardo state.
Yeah, again, a gap there for the keyboard riff, which is nice.
Unity Hall, Rapture has spoken. Open up your mouth, but the melody is broken.
Little bass riff there. Do 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 do.
Make illusions, cause the old world waits. Samsara ends as we liberate our fates.
Again, breaking for the riff, which this time ends on F, and the bass comes in also on F. So we get a big strong F chord, very similar to the D minor chord. They've only got one note difference, but again, because of this strong chord movement, it feels like quite a big moment.
No more pleas as we cleanse the karmic weight. Youth lead the change.
And we've got an extra instrument in there. A little electronic guitar in the right.
The first time it's fate. For freedom's final call. Earth is our home, watch the old systems fall.
Again, a gap for that riff. So we've got these really regular gaps in the drumming, which feels quite spacey. The drumming in itself is quite slow and measured, even if it has faster elements to it. So overall, we've got this quite clear and straightforward rhythm going on, and that's also true in the vocal, where we've got lots and lots on the beat, not very many faster bits, you know, da da da. We might get that sometimes, but really it's all about the beat, and it has those offbeats as well, but they don't feel particularly weak either. Yeah, the guitar here is seemingly giving us extra little tidbits of phrase, and it's just an improvised feel. There's a little bit coming from each part improvised wise, maybe not from the synth, A little bit from the bass, as we talked about before, that do 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 kind of thing, and the drums don't quite do the same thing every single time, so there's a lot of freedom going on there, but the guitar is maybe exemplifying that best.
Kids rise up, tearing down the corporate wall, hands in the dirt, building futures for us all. Money doesn't matter, reclaim what they stole. You complete the change for the first time, it's final call.
Okay, yeah, so for that bit we had mainly waiting on D for the first two sections, then waiting on F for those second two sections, and the last one there we didn't have the riff, which normally signifies that we're starting again. This time we just moved through on the F to the G, and that's a really nice change. We are, by the way, in D Dorian mode, so D is our tonal center, and Dorian mode is what the scale, or the mode of the scale, if you like, that we are doing on top of that, and that gives us this kind of bright sixth here. Ooh, but also that flat third. Doo, 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 doo. So it has this combination of majory feeling things and minory feeling things, if that's how us Westerners want to think about this sound overall. I think of it as kind of a bright but slightly aggressive kind of sound. It's used in loads of different circumstances though, and bright and aggressive are not necessarily the ones that it's always used in. It's used, for instance, in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. We all love it. Right? That's classic Dorian, though it does then do some other stuff. Regardless, we're not talking about that today. We've gone to a new section with a G now at the beginning of it, and some singing. And a new riff. Still the same kind of movement, and still very much based on that D pentatonic scale here. So we're not getting the E minor here, though we did get that in the previous section briefly, didn't we? And we're not getting the B diminished, as you might expect, but we're getting all the other chords in quick succession. Yeah, the melody then does an interesting thing in comparison, which is that it stays pretty much put. Da da, it just has that note, ba ba, while the chord goes. And the first time there it goes da 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 da. So when we get to the change of bar, we are actually on a different note there. There's also a sax that has crept in here, and I have already checked. As far as I can hear it, it's not doing all the notes. It seems to be just doing ba ba, this low baritone sax in there. Ba ba, it does that one too. Slightly different riff there for the tune, not ba da da da, but ba da da da. So bigger jump there, slightly more active and cool, but same deal. And it ends on a chord note of the D minor either way, but it is a different one. Higher one. So what comes next? Okay, cool. Much higher melody then. Lovely. And the bass with that is really lovely. It's basically moving in thirds most of the time, so we're still getting that chord movement, except when we go fall, the bass jumps to boom, so we get a bigger jump there, not do do do, and not do do do, but do 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 with do do do. Okay, so that's the one moment where they come apart, but then immediately they get back together. Da, 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 da. So they're really locked in there in a way that they hadn't been in the previous sections. They're locked together in their movement, which brings it this real weight. Yeah, like a any kind of folk sing-along tune. It has this weight of everyone giving their thing together. Unified movement, homophonic chordal movement. It's really cool. Okay, and then only fool's gold. An interesting melody, because da 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 might feel more natural, but it's oh. So it sort of waits on this note instead of going down to the last one, and that would have seemed really uncomfortable, because that's what we did in the first melody in this section, da 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 da. But instead, it dysregulates us now. It updates our expectations, if you like, or outfoxes our expectations, da 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 da, with then this kind of unusual jump, da da, going from the E to the B. Now those are both the notes which are not in the D minor pentatonic, so those are the most expressive notes of this melody. Now when they're sung in this da da, they don't feel expressive necessarily, but they definitely carry quite a lot of sort of action, emotional action to them. Only fool's gold, and then it finally finishes on that A when we've got back to the D. So this is quite a nice AABA shape here, 32 bar song form kind of thing, where we get the same thing twice. We get that again, and then we get the other one, ba, da, 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 and then we get the first one again. And the melody is different over each of these, but the chord sequence in the background is the same, and that lends it this AABA structure that is so comfortable and common. But because the melody is different, it doesn't feel like it's just repeating the same thing again, and that's nice. That's a good degree of variety for me, at least. Okay, and then we're back to, yeah, but it doesn't quite sound the right, does it? Let's just check that. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Is it really that? That's crazy. Yeah, yeah. It's slightly, that B especially is not what we would expect. No, that one might sound nicer, but yeah, interesting. So it's still parallel movement, and it has the same rhythm as that first riff, where we repeat 3 times the first thing, but it's different chords. It's D minor, C, B diminished, as far as I can tell. I might go back and check that again. A minor, and then F to finish. So it follows the same shape if we do it on, well, no, not even if we do it on the piano. It's still moving down 5 notes, but these don't exist in any pentatonic scale that's standard, at least. So a really interesting change there, a slightly more uncomfortable change, especially, yeah, because I don't think the tuning of the bass quite matches the tuning of the synth. Interesting idea. And there we go, people standing side by side, bringing us our original riff back again, and with a vocal that goes along with it, giving us that highest line. Lovely. And then we're into another verse.
Corporate law, chasing prisms of value that money can't accrue. A warlord awaits his
a little bit more guitar in this section, I think. Slightly more, slightly clearer. Interesting how the main vocal there gets interrupted by the ba da 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 vocal. I would say if you can write it in a way that doesn't happen, kind of good. You can argue that it serves the DIY aesthetic again, if you like, but yeah, I mean, what does it if you just take the perspective that it is serving the song, what is it? How is it serving it? Let's think about that for a moment. It's interrupting your familiarity in the same kind of way as that gap does normally. That gap in the drums just says refocus your attention here, and so I suppose the interruption there does that as well. Without knowing what the words are, I might be, therefore missing some reason to do this, but that's what I can see. That's a reasonable reason there as far as I can see. Let's keep going.
Leaders and parties stall, choose election campaigns and forfeit withdrawal. What is this bogus leadership? Towing strength and justice, it stems from feudal lordship.
Feudal lordship accompanied by some, old clarinets? My little baby is outside the door there, making a lot of noise. The texture changes. Can you hear that?
Leadership, towing strength and justice, it stems from feudal lordship.
Yeah, and the lines are actually different. We have, but we also have. Okay, so that clarinet, whatever it is, over the top, it's not doing our pentatonic thing. It's doing its own thing, so we get slightly different harmony. Lots of parallel fifths instead of parallel fourths. Yeah, it feels slightly different, and it leads us to our F as we would expect. The D, and then the F.
Advised women unite from Greenham Common to the miner's wife's.
Yeah, so the guitar is really going off here with kind of Kim Crimson-esque lines, doing this kind of low and jumping, this kind of thing. So we have kind of one high note and two low notes quite a lot of the time there.
At Durham Gala, Armagh women abolish strip search as they fight for human rights.
And a nice something like that in the guitar as well, with a lot of distortion on it, but it's so quiet in the mix. It really feels like a kneecapped giant.
A broken flag to make amends.
Yeah, this is slightly different riff actually, isn't it? Because we end on the F, so da 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 da, not da 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 da. So it feels much brighter in that respect than the D minor, I reckon.
Presbyterians reformed the church, it wasn't enough. What about?
Yeah, and also those chords, because they're not E minor C, but they are in fact going G, E minor, F. They also have this brightness to them that the first section of the verse doesn't have.
Love, in the end, common land, common rule to the very end.
And there we have our chorus again, but this time with an extra voice as far as I can tell. So we don't just get fool's gold, but we get fool's gold. Maybe, it doesn't seem right, but we get fool's gold. Definitely we get that note, and it disappears somewhere in there. But that's interesting because that's not our chord. Our chord is G. So getting fool's gold sort of emphasizes this dyad of D and A, which is maybe our home D minor kind of thing, but interesting with the G. Yeah, it's interesting how that relates. It doesn't feel in common with everything else going on around it, but it maybe feels more weighted and more comfortable than that stuff. Same thing here. Oh, it's still there in that final chord. Not there in this one. The guitar is still doing fun things over the top. I guess it's doing its own pentatonic scale. It doesn't seem to be using a lot of F, but it has got a lot of E, so it's doing this A minor pentatonic, very, very closely related, so it doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. Okay, a second chorus with an extra melody now. This is really fun. So that that chord which we had and the chord riff now has a melody to go with it. I mean, it's the same. It's the melody. It's yeah. And that's the same as what happened between the first verse and the second verse. We added a melody, a vocal melody, to do that riff with the synth and with the bass. Really cool idea. It builds texture without actually adding any more, polyrhythmic elements. It keeps the rhythm very straightforward and adds a big layer of detail, because we're not just adding a vocal there, we're adding words as well. So there is a lot to unpack there, which I will not be looking at because I don't look at words, but feel free to yourself. So still over those second two sections, we don't have that extra one. We do have the riff over the second one, but we don't have the vocal to go with it. So that's interesting. Are we going to have the post-chorus section again? This odd version of the riff, something like that. Are we going to have that again? Let's see. Yes, we did get it. Now, let me just have a closer look at that for a moment. Yeah. Ah, okay. Yeah, it doesn't go to the B diminished. We have a little bit of a switch to something like that. Something like that. It's still a little weird. Yeah, something like that. So not going fully chordally there in the same kind of way. We have a sort of switch of voicing, if you like. So the order of the notes in the chord becomes different. We have one going from the lowest one, so the root being the lowest one in these first ones, to the root maybe being the middle one in these ones. Yeah, some kind of change there, but let's not labour over it. Let's keep going. Got this odd synth noise up there. Now it's there. This feels quite different, doesn't it? This feels like a sax solo, and we're just based over a chord, which is, yeah, that low F. Really fun to hear that on the flutes as well, because that's very low in a flute's range. So you get this real disturbance in the sound. A flute synth, obviously. Okay, and then it changes to D minor. So we are still getting the changes of the verse, but what we're lacking especially is the drums. We've got lots of cymbals, but no hi-hat as far as I can tell, and very much not much of the other stuff. And no riff. That's where the riff would have come if it was there, but it didn't. We got ding, ding, ding with a in the sax. Not much of a solo then. We had maybe a little solo section earlier, but then it disappeared, or it just started playing background stuff. This is a trumpet solo. Yeah, the saxophone is still there. The guitar's gone. That's really fun. So going from this, so it's going from that note, mid blow, if you like. It's going up to the top D and back down, mid blow. I really love that, like a harmonic of itself. Yeah, a little bit of riz. So as far as scale goes, it's pretty much Yeah, maybe it's using that A minor pentatonic, but it's certainly not very far from the D minor at all. Oh yeah. Okay. So we've got the B in there. Maybe we haven't got the F so far, but we're pretty much still playing that D minor Dorian scale. A little more accompaniment here. The synth has come back in, I think. So lots of repetitions of this one particular line here. And because it's not quite locked in with the rhythm of everything else that's going on, it sort of feels like it's coming back to that rest note in different parts of the bar. So it's not da 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 da. It's like da 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 da, something like that, right? So it's coming in different places, sometimes on the beat, sometimes off the beat. Yeah, you can hear a lot of like breath noise coming, spit noise maybe, and it's really going up into some squeaky high notes there. Maybe all the way up there, really? That seems nuts. Something really high. Okay, the guitars come back in here. Lots of ride cymbal, like I say. The ride cymbal I think might have been recorded in two different places, or it might be two ride cymbals, but we're getting one that has this quite tight belly sound, and then one that is much more splashy coming on every sort of offbeat. And I think that is in a different stereo space as well, so I would imagine they were different. They were different cymbals, but I'm not entirely sure they fit in a real space in here, but that's not my expertise. Maybe they do. Also getting a build in of the kick drum and the snare here. I don't know if they were there before. I don't think they were, but they're definitely here now. Interesting how we've got those two different melody instruments at the same time, the guitar and the saxophone, no, not saxophone, trumpet, both doing their solos at the same time. They're not really interrupting each other, though they are almost in the same range. The guitar is still in its favorite range up here. Now yeah, trumpet is a little lower than that at the moment, but I'm sure it will go back up there again. Yeah, so it's there, and the guitar is kind of here, so they're really close to each other. And as well as that, we've got this swell in the rest of the instruments, haven't we? Yeah, so now they're pretty much in the same kind of place. They both stopped on the E there for a bit, and they're really occupying this kind of area. It doesn't feel like a very structured solo session at all. It really feels very improvised from both of the musicians there. It doesn't seem like they're playing off each other. It doesn't seem like they are trying to develop a melody or anything like that. They're really just mood expressing, I would say. So I think that's some high stuff again, with a lot of breath noise, but it really just sounds like noise. It sounds like white noise going. That was a cool noise. Let's hear it again. Cool. There is actually a third soloing instrument come in here. It sounds like a retro synth doing these kind of notes, higher than the guitar at least. Maybe it's not soloing actually, because it's stopped on the D. Yeah, and yeah, the guitar is it's just doing this kind of thing. Really fast notes just going in and out, and some of them hitting at the same time, so it's really messy and distorted. So we're building this quite chaotic texture with all these things. At the same time, the accompanying things are keeping a really rigid, straightforward pace, mostly on the same chord, emphasizing it on the offbeats. So there's not that much going crazy there. It's just that we've got 3 different layers on top which are going nuts. Yeah, it's not doing much actually, but that one, it's really heavily in the right headphone. It's doing something up on this top F kind of area. Not too much extra melody, but it's contributing to the polyphony nonetheless. It feels like the trumpet has sort of calmed down a little bit. It's just doing nice, mainly pentatonic melodies in that lower region there. And the guitar isn't very present actually. I think it is still there. Okay. And the trumpet's gone crazy again. And everything comes back together for the chorus riff. Nice. And that was just a constant build through that section, wasn't it? It came down quite low, we lost most instruments, and then we built everything back in, and we just built and built and built and built and built. How long was that section then? So if we finished, what, around 6:10, yeah, 6:16, where did we start? Okay, yeah, so, okay, yeah, after this section, so that's pretty much where we start, is 3:34, so the best part of 3 minutes just purely building towards that release again. Cool. This is what long songs are about. We didn't have to have a lot of variance in that section. We built the excitement through regular, slow, I want to say spasmodic, but that's not what I mean, like small, subtle changes, building and building and building until it gets to a very different place, until you realize, oh, we're in a very different place. And then this sudden change that comes at the end of it makes all of that really satisfying. So it seems like we're playing all the way through a chorus, we just don't have any words, which is cool. And you can hear the guitar is still doing its own thing. Never locked down by anything anyone else is doing that. Now you'd think probably that would be a good way to end the song. Oh, but we've got another chorus on. Great. Not with the extra vocal though yet. Maybe that's a sign. What's nice about this melody as well is that it occupies basically an octave. We go down to an A and we go up to an A, depending on if you're a male voice or a low or a female voice, high voice or a low voice. You've got a different octave, but that's basically what it is. Da 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 da. There's our highest note, and then da 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 da. There's our lowest note. So this is something that you can expect a you know, an audience to sing along with, no problem, which is really cool. And there's that extra vocal. We knew it, we knew it. Still the guitar going off on one in the background. There's maybe some extra harmony there that hasn't been there before. So I think we've got like it's not quite that though, is it? There's something giving us an extra harmony there that I haven't heard before, and I think we end up with an F6 chord because of it. But anyway, moving on. And the sax really heavily joins on that. Oh! And there's our incredible space trumpet again. Really, yeah, I mean, it is basically up there, isn't it? But it's not a solid note. It's this noise, which is, I mean, more fun really than a high piercing note. Yeah, really interesting noise, and so chaotic, so aggressive in comparison to most things here. There's actually some fun, yeah. There we didn't actually have in the bass da da da. We had da da da. So, or did we? Da, 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 da. No, I don't think we had that. Da da da. Yeah. Dun. So the bass is again showing us it doesn't need to do the same thing every single time, and it's having a little more fun with the root note of each of these chords. But because the chords go fast, so fast, they go by so fast. I met someone today who did spoonerisms the wrong way around. You know how spoonerisms, this is a deviation from the subject, but you know how spoonerisms you get like bad blood would be blad bud, right? But this person did it with the second half. They said that the wrong way around. So instead of bad blood, they would have said bud blad, right? Or instead of fool's gold, they wouldn't have said ghoul's fold. They would have said fold ghouls, right? So the first one was in the right place, and it was the second half that was in the wrong place. Never found someone with that before. I thought that was fun anyway. Getting back to it, where were we? Oh, this kind of thing going on in the background. Can you hear that? Like a winding down of an old toy or something. Just an extra thing. And it feels like we're going to get another chorus on the end here. So we've really had the same section. This would be the 5th time. And it's a long section as well. This time without the extra vocal, but with a lot of improvisation. So we had a big fill there from the drums, and really fun how that's basically just on the snare, but so much variety in the volume and the way it's played there. Really nice simple but effective elements that you can really hear in such a verite recording as this. Not that this is actually verite, this is clearly studio recorded, but it's much clearer and cleaner on most of the things that are here. There's very little studio trickery going on, maybe compression, maybe a little reverb. I wouldn't imagine there was much else. Maybe there's a little auto-tune, I don't know. The drums are really going for it. Feels like we got an extra drum there that we haven't had before. A really strange electronic tinny cymbal, but maybe it was just something else. And there's the end. Wow. Cool. Yeah, and lots of noise drainage. Yeah! And a chat and a laugh on the end. Gotta love it. Yeah, wow. 8.5 minutes, 3 sections, kind of 4 sections if you want to think of the verse as 2 separate sections. We have the D minor section and the F section, and then we have 4 sections within the chorus. But it went verse part 2, chorus, post-chorus, riff, slightly different. Then we had verse part 2, this time with the added vocal, chorus then with the added vocal, then we had the post-chorus, then we had this 3-minute build based on the first part of the verse. It was just all built around that D minor. We didn't even move to F there, which is maybe another reason why it feels so big to move to the G, as we do at the end of that 3-minute build, back into the chorus. And then we had one chorus with no vocals, we had a chorus with vocals, we had a chorus with both vocals, then we had a chorus with no vocals again but another trumpet solo going over the top, and then we had another chorus with just the one vocal again. 5 choruses to finish up this song, which I think is really nice. Look, does it need that? I don't really think so, but we get a valuable expression over that time. We did. We had everything fading in and out with texture. Not everything, but different things came in and out as the focal point. Even in the background instruments, we got a lot of variation. The only thing that's holding everything together is probably that synth riff doing exactly the same thing each time. But almost everyone else was giving us something new, maybe not every single time, but sometimes, and keeping the whole thing exciting and vibrant the whole way through. So I really like that one, and that's true in a different way of a lot of the songs on this. In fact, a lot of the songs, it's also true of them in the same way, but they don't occupy the same big canvas. But that 19 minutes 49 song, which is Clear Pools, that does a different thing, and that's more sectional, more fully sectional, without referring back. This one is really, if I kind of like to come up with names for songs that are long and the form that they actually have. This basically is a regular song that has a big jam section in the middle, and an extended chorus on the end. So this just fits regular song. If we've been looking at a lot of Aurora songs, the structure of Aurora songs is basically verse, chorus, bridge, some choruses on the end. And this is doing the same thing as that, only over a larger time span. And I think that's really cool. Anyway, let's I'm never going to get this out before 6, but whatever. Let's get rid of Soundscape because it never comes up, and we will put Long Song, because we just like long songs. That definitely says Long Song, but never mind. We do have Barry Sax in here, but we've got rid of it again. Did we have upright? I don't really think we had upright bass. It kind of sounded that way sometimes. So let's get rid of distorted bass then, and let's put in Barry Sax again. Every time we get rid of it, it comes up again. It's the most glorious sound. I should just keep it on here. Baritone sax. And I think the main thing that we really like about this one is the polyphony. Having extra. We've already got polyphony down though, so let's put. Let's get rid of heavy chromaticism. Why not? It'll no doubt make its way back, but we'll get rid of that and we'll put in So what I want to put in is recontextualization of a guitar riff with a vocal. Well, let's just put guitar and vocal unison. Or no, not guitar, sorry. Riff and no, not riff. Let's put instrumental and vocal unison. Instrumental Oh geez. Me, sal, and vocal. It's a cool idea, and yeah, it's rare. Nicely used in this one. I don't know why, but Ace of Spades is the one that's coming to mind that also does it. Because we get the Ace of Spades, but actually we don't get that da 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 at the same time as he goes Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades, and that's actually different, isn't it? Anyway, Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades. He's doing that, whereas it's bam 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 at the end. Anyway, that's a different song. So we definitely had a long song here. We didn't have any false relations. It was very, very kept in the same key, almost entirely, I would say. Maybe there were some extra notes in the solo, but I didn't even notice any. We had baritone sax. Sonata form. It is kind of sonata form because it's got an A section, which is verse and chorus, then it's got B section, which is the development, if you like, and then it's got the C section, which is the recapitulation. The development isn't quite doing what it would do in a sonata form, I would say, but whatever, I'm giving it. Didn't have another world chord change. Kick drum on all beats, we definitely didn't have that. Contrary motion, no, we had just very, very rigid instrumental and vocal unison, so very, very parallel motion. Polyphony, yeah. Gigantic reverb, absolutely not. Very small reverb, really, overall. Instrumental, yes, totally. Held dissonances, not really at all. You know, we got something like that, but that's very, very soft dissonance. Improvised feel, 100%, almost all the time. Not linear, not upright bass, not unexpected section addition. I think we could probably give that, because we had many extra choruses at the end. Harmonic pattern, I think undeniably there was a harmonic pattern there. Unusual chord sequence, that's a difficult one. I guess it is an unusual chord sequence because the chords are moving so much in the smallest space. So yeah. Modal interchange, no, we didn't have any. Multi-octave cohesion, not multi-octave, well, okay, I guess we had multi-octave cohesion, but not quite in the way that we would normally do. And robotic voice and no drums we didn't have. So no lines, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it's decent. Regardless of this meaningless musical bingo, I hope that I have introduced you to something you will hold dear. Hen Ogledd. Very, very cool. Richard Dawson, also very, very cool. Go and listen to Richard Dawson. And yeah, have a fantastic time. I need to go and upload this video, so bye.